Welcome back to Hammerstone TV. Coming up right now, part 2 of my interview with Charles Ruggiero.
And so to be able to communicate ideas, because it's not just about like people like, oh man, just lay back on the beat, bro. That's how to get phrasing. It's like, no, it isn't.
Right.
Like not even a little bit. You know, so when I talk about feel and when I talk about things like phrasing and we talk about improvisation particularly, like it always pays to think about it and to refer to it as in terms of language. Because like you said, look at us. We're just improvising a conversation. We have some topics that we're talking about. We've like made left turns. We've, like you're agreeing with what I'm saying right now. And I can tell because you're nodding your head, right? Mm-hmm. There's some body language involved. There's like I might say something that excites you and you might butt in and you know what I mean? But, oh yeah, I fucking did that too, or I remember that guy. You know what I mean? You get excited or like, fuck that fucking record. That record sucks. Yeah. Whatever. Like that's what like, speaking in terms of jazz, that's what improvisation is, right? It's like we're talking, we're like somebody, let's say the saxophone player is sort of telling their story. They have, out of the 5 of us that are playing together, it's their solo. It's like they're holding the talking stick, right? They're the one. It's like I'm getting to tell you what I think about whatever. MASH, the TV show MASH, right? We've agreed that we're going to talk about MASH. Like that's like picking the song, right? We're going to play Bye Bye Blackbird. Mm-hmm. It's like we all know that song. We all know how it goes. So that's something we can discuss. If one guy's like let's say one guy never saw MASH, he might be like, I don't want to talk about that. Like I don't want to play that song. Like I don't know it. Right. Like I'm not going to have anything to say. I'm not going to be a part of the conversation, so let's pick a different show. So, okay, let's talk about Goodfellas instead of MASH. Everyone's seen Goodfellas? Yeah, great. We know, like, start talking about it. And the first guy's like, well, you know what I really like about it is such and such and such. I love Joe Pesci, and I love Ray Liotta's so great, and it's so cool. So, and then someone's like, yeah, it's like The Sopranos. He doesn't grab the talking stick and start talking his own thing. He just kind of a little like, oh yeah, I love that.
Little parallel for a second.
Yeah, just an interjection. When I did one of my first quarantine videos, I wanted to do Chucky's in Love because I love that tune.
Ricky V. Jones.
Yeah,
that one so well.
And man, they're fucking all over the place. Like that song feels so good from start to finish.
And it's such a swampy feel too.
Oh my god.
Chucky.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Gad and who I don't know who else is on that actually, but I mean obviously it's Gad. And when and playing along to that, like when I wanted to record it and not just play along for fun, like you get a little more intense when you have to when the red light is on, things you got to tighten it up a little bit. I was shocked at how like, man, they rush and drag and you would never, but they're playing together. So though that little like, oh, the bass player was late, like coming in or rushed, the piano player rushed this thing or blah, blah, it's like you can't really tell unless you set a click to it because everything is informing everything else in real time. So it like it has a little bit of but like that thing doesn't feel out of pocket for a goddamn second.
I don't think it's possible for Steve Gadd to feel like he's not in pocket.
Of course. But again, that going back to like that's the thing is like that they're not playing like they're not totally perfectly metronomically in time the whole time. Mm-hmm. They're like making music together. You know what I mean? And so I just think that that's a real like again speaking to the Laura Dickinson session. It was like it was just one of those. It was a great experience for me because the music was fun and Laura's so great to work with and everyone was such a pro. You know what I mean? And it solidified some ideas that I already had.
Right.
You know what I mean? It really solidified some ideas that I already had. And I would have been interested if someone in there, like, I wonder how badly it could have gone had someone in there had a really different sense of time or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, there's probably a specific player that does sessions like that as well. That I don't see that as one of those kind of sessions where, the flautist is going to, like, all of a sudden shred a solo in the middle, like, start improvising. It's like, no, this thing is mapped out perfectly.
Right.
And really the only thing that maybe you have any control over is kind of like how you intonate something,
for sure.
Not intonate, but like, how you.
Well, intonation would be certainly a thing, like being able to play in tune.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But how you interpret the notes as written, like how much feeling you put into it. If you're not just going, but it's your. Maybe the conductor might give you a little leeway there, but again.
But again, that has to be with the section, because if everybody, this goes back to your other question, right? So if everyone did their like da da dee da da da, everyone had their own thing like that, it would just be a fucking mess. Right. So part of playing in a good section, right, a saxophone section, let's say, is that the lead alto player, it sets the tone and everybody matches to that. And so they listen to how that guy's going to phrase it and then they imitate him. And everyone doesn't just get to play their own thing in a classical setting. You have to play what's on the page.
Right.
So going back to that piece, it's like, I say that the drummer's job is not to keep time, like we were just talking about. It's everybody's job to keep time. Like, everyone's responsible to play consistent time. It's like everyone's job. It makes everyone's job easy when everyone's doing it. If I've got to fucking rein in 100 people, that's going to be a drag. But if everyone's a pro and everyone knows what they're doing, like, goes off without a fucking hitch, right? So everyone's responsible for the time. But the way I look at it is this. A tuning fork, right? A tuning fork is like a perfect B flat, right? So it's not like everyone goes, oh, I'm really feeling B flat here. Right, this is my B flat, and the other guy goes, well, this is really where I hear B flat. It's like, because there is some sense of, it's not perfection. It's like, you know what I mean. So when you hit a tuning fork, it's like, okay, we're all going to go to that B flat. We're all going to be together. Right. It's going to rein everybody in and say that. And then the next step is like the section leader is the one who says, we're going to phrase it like this. We're not going to say, I want to go to the store. We're going to say, I want to go to the store, right? That's the phrasing piece, right? Is that each, like, you can phrase, I want to go to the store you can phrase, I want to go to the store, but the implication is, but I can't,
Right.
I want to go to the store implication is, I don't want you to go. I want to go, right? Yeah. I want to go to the store.
Store is important.
Yeah, right. So where you put the emphasis, it really, and how you phrase that changes the meaning. So the section leader is the one who decides this is how we're going to do that. So for the way I look at it, is the drummer's job is we're the tuning fork for rhythm, whatever the feeling of the rhythm is, right? If it's 6/8, right, like that. You can play that in other ways. Boom bop, boom, boom bop. So you can, there's different ways. So with the drummer's job, I really feel like that the consistent job of the drummer is always to define the feeling of the rhythm. And so that we're like the tuning fork. So when we do that, everyone goes, okay, I know how we're going to do this.
There's the emphasis on the rhythm.
This is how we're going to do it. We're the section leader for rhythm. We're not the section leader for all the saxophones or all the this, or we're the section leader for everybody's rhythm.
Right.
And so when I think about those, like that's what I, those are the ways that I try to explain the like feeling and rhythm and improvisation. It's like there's ways to, and it's like analogies. You just use what's real in the world to express an idea that is like, doesn't really have a clear expression. You just try to make the most sense out of it.
Right.
And that's what teaching is, what's so fun about like conversations like this and teaching especially. I don't have a lot of students. I wouldn't really call myself a teacher, but I feel like I am good at it, because I don't just take any old, that's just not what I want my life to be, But I do love teaching. The thing I love about teaching is that everyone's got a different roadblock. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a different thing that like, this makes sense to me, but this doesn't. Right. And so if I'm trying to explain improvisation, you might not get the analogy that I said today. So I've got to I've got to go deeper and figure out how to get around your roadblock. And all that does is it makes me smarter about it, because I've got to come up with a way that makes sense for you. Mm-hmm. I've got to get it through, and the more ways you know how to get to your house, the better off you are. You're never going to get lost, Right. And so I love that about, that's why I like these kinds of talks and teaching and that kind of shit. It's so much fun,
Well, and I felt like, because I did take a few lessons with Charles back in the day, and I felt that I could kind of fake a triplet. I was so into the rock 2 and 4, straight ahead, 16th note, 8th note, quads.
Right.
Everything was, playing in the box, right, so to speak.
Sure.
And I kind of felt like, even though I wasn't able to really study with you for a very long time, I felt like that the few lessons that I got from you, you kind of opened my brain up, started that journey of like how to feel triplets, how to feel that time, how to feel that different note rate against a quarter note. Yeah.
Well, that's the important thing, is against the quarter note,
right?
And having it lock in. That's the thing I think that's really. I remember that. I remember going through that with you, and like
we're doing like sextuplet stuff, and I was just like, for the longest time, I was like, I can play this at like 50 BPM, and occasionally the fucking quarter note on the hi-hat would fall in place,
right?
And now that like I've started to incorporate that and working with syncopation and reading syncopation as triplets.
Yes.
Like, right?
Well,
you have that breakthrough moment.
Yeah. It's, because again, this goes back again to what it all ties together. What we're just talking about. So the rhythm of a triplet, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So you're doing that. So that rhythm is very, very close to a dotted quarter note, an eighth note, and a quarter note, right? Like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and, right? So they're very close, but they're very different rhythms. They're not the fucking same.
Right.
And I can't tell you, how many times, like, Justin DiCioccio, who was my teacher in Manhattan School of Music, boy, he would get on us about that. He'd be like, you're playing it'd be some triplet figure, right? Ba, 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 you know what I mean? or I just did it wrong. Like, what I just sang was more like a dotted quarter, eighth, and then quarter, and we would play, like, ba, 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 da, 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 and we'd be playing a ba, 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 it's like they're so close, and it's so easy to make that it's so easy to cheat one way or the other, and not really feel right. Like there's all that space between those notes, all that there's all that, and if you lose sort of the subdivision, right? If you lose that, you really run the risk of kind of playing it wrong. It's like you're almost guessing.
Right.
You know, you're kind of guessing at it instead of really knowing where it falls, how it falls, what it feels like when it falls in the right place. So to your point, like playing it against the quarter note that's really the thing, is like feeling it in the time. Maybe against the quarter note isn't the best way to say it, but like feeling where it lives in the time, like what its reference is.
The quarter note.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you're able to really manipulate feeling and really manipulate rhythm to do whatever you want it to. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about like, oh, your feel is really natural and, you know, all that stuff, it's like, because I think you asked me like who taught you that or where did I learn that and how do I communicate that, I think was your original question. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, I learned it from everyone I ever listened to. Like I learned it from Eddie Van Halen. You know what I mean? Like hearing the way that motherfucker played a riff, you know what I mean? Like that had as much, you know, or the way Richard Pryor spoke, you know what I mean? Like I just, it's everywhere. Right. And if you can see it, and for me, that's my whole kind of like hippie trip, right? You know, that's like my whole like spiritual.
Just flow with it.
Yeah, like my spiritual, like my view of the universe is very much that. It's like everything you ever need to know about anything in the universe ever is here. It's here for you to see. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's going to sound dumb, but like if it doesn't exist in the universe, then it doesn't exist. The framework that the universe, like that Mother Nature will show you, mm-hmm. like it will, like water always boils at 100 degrees, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's right.
Or is it was it 160?
Is it 160?
Or 180?
Yeah.
Or you're supposed to boil it at 180 so you don't get sick.
Right.
One of those.
Whatever. Let's put it this way. Water always freezes at 32 degrees. Let's start it. That we know. No right. Fucking scientist.
Yeah.
You know, but like that is a, you know, but then someone else can say like, well, no, but when you're in this, whatever it is, there's maybe something that can change that, like if you were at a different altitude or if you're at a different, you know, like maybe it changes it a little bit, but you're adding other variable, like you change this variable and it changes the outcome,
right?
And like, but that's also like that is still a sort of a Mother Nature principle. It's like, well, every time I add that variable, it still will come out the exact same.
Right.
You know what I mean? 2 and 2 is always 4. 2 and 2 is 1 is always 5. You know what I mean? It's like you can keep adding or subtracting or whatever, but the math always works out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I really feel that way about music and the universe. And so I hear, you know, you hear that in the way Richard Pryor tells a joke, the rhythm of it. Mm-hmm. The rhythm of the joke is the same as the rhythm that Charlie Parker played with. Yeah. You know, and I talk about this, a pitcher, a major league pitcher, you know, that's like, that. What that guy is doing is the same as every backbeat you ever played. Whap is the same as, huh! You know what I mean? It's the same exact principle in play. Mm-hmm. The delivery of that thing, once it's out of your hand, it's out. Once you hit that backbeat, it's gone.
Right.
But everything that goes into that, the consistency of everything, that the way your body moves to deliver that is the same exact thing as when a pitcher pitches a ball.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the delivery of it and the letting, when you hit a jump shot or you hit a cue ball, you know, foul, or a golf swing, those kinds of things. It's like drumming, just slower. You know, just right. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, we got to get back to business.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've got to do it again right away.
Yeah. I mean, another principle that you kind of brought to my mind as well was, you know, not only the fluidity and maximizing or minimizing, you know, the amount of energy put into each stroke, but maximizing the result, was also the concept of what you do after the note occurs. And that was something that I had never paid attention to. And one thing that has always stuck with me was like you had the stick, you had the snare drum, and then you had another stick here.
Yeah.
And like you could go snap, 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 you know, or you can go da, 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 but this note is always the same.
Yeah.
If you're playing quarter notes, this note is always a quarter note, but the return note can be something, it can be whatever you want it to be, right?
Right.
And what that opened up for me, like I kind of started, I mean, I'm still like on a very, you know, rudimentary, you know, basis with this, but doing like 16 and 30-second note fills around the top, the kit, where I'm leaving notes out, but it was that, you know, and that concept of space within a fill, instead of it just being like, you know, and it's like it just kind of happened naturally one day, and it was that one lesson that you gave me where you were doing the stick thing that popped into my head of like, fuck, okay, there's all this other space occurring after that note that
I would say that it's the other way. I think of it the other way around. I think of it as what we were just talking about, right? It's not what you do after the note, unless you're thinking that everything that once you deliver the stroke, right? Everything like that stroke is done. It's over. You've finished. You've let the ball out of your hand. Once that stroke, so what matters is your sort of your body English to deliver the next note, so that like that everything that goes into the next downbeat, instead of like people often think of like people are thinking like from the note forward. I talk about this in my masterclass. People get into this thing where you think about like when you're reading music, when you're reading syncopation, you know, you think that the quarter note, because the quarter note, like, it occupies time forward. But the thing is, like the pitch, you're only concerned with delivering the note. All the space forward that it occupies is the ball's job or the note's job.
Or the drum's job.
That's what I mean. Like the drum's job is to express that. Your job is only to bring. You're just like the pizza delivery guy. You're just delivering the pizza. They get to eat it when they want. Like, you know, or like not that necessarily,
as long as
but
they
like,
want.
yeah, or it's like in whatever way. Like you don't even care if they eat it or not. Like you don't. It's not yours anymore.
Right.
All you do is like, I've got to make sure that this gets delivered to the right place at the right time. I don't care after that. I don't care if they roll around in it, if they throw it out, if they eat it tomorrow, if they eat it now, if they don't share it, if they share it. I don't care. So you're just sort of a delivery system. So like all the space between when you deliver the note, as soon as it's done, you're literally on to the next thing. Right. You're on to the next note. So in a sense, it's like it's like this, right? Where like I deliver the note and then the note takes on a life of its own and I've let it go and I'm just worried about bringing the next note. It's like, wouldn't it be great if parents were like that? You know what I mean? It's like I bring my kid into the world and then it's like
they're on their own.
You know, they're on their own.
Get a job.
Yeah. Totally. You know, it's like it's like instead of trying to manipulate everything after the fact, it's like get it to where it needs to go and then roll out. And then get ready. It's like a mailman, right? That's probably a better analogy. It's like you deliver the mail and then you just deliver the next thing. And then you just deliver the next one and then you just deliver the next one. And then you just deliver the next one. And that's all you're doing. I don't give a shit what they do. My job is to get the mail there. My job is to fucking hit that note. And then as soon as, so it's like this note takes on its own life, but I'm letting that happen because I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about getting the next one there on time.
Yeah.
And so it's everything that you do to prepare yourself for the next pitch, the next letter, the next pizza, whatever the way you want to look at it, is what do I do? And what you do in the meantime is really informs the feeling of it. So this thing that he's talking about is like, if this is our quarter note, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not going to change, right? That's not going to change. So what if I do this? like this is the voice of the quarter note, right? The quarter note has this voice, but the upbeat doesn't have a voice. So if I give the upbeat a voice, right? So this doesn't change, but I can change the feeling of this by changing what I do after I deliver the quarter note. 1, 2, right? I'm going to deliver this, and then what do I do? So in that case, I'm staying there. I'm hanging out on the doorstep after I give the pizza because I'm like, I don't got anywhere to be. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. I gotta get the next pizza. So like I'm staying and then I rush to get here.
Yeah.
You know, 1, 2, 3. Instead of this is like the guy that just like, here's your pizza. Here's your pizza. Here's your pizza. Here's your pizza. You know what I mean? Yeah. That guy's just like he comes and goes at the same speed. He comes and goes at the same rate instead of or this.
Right.
So it's after you've delivered the note, what do you do to deliver the next note, and how the shape. And I really love this idea of the shape of it. Like I think of a half pipe like boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? That's got a shape to it. It's not, you know. It's not. Doesn't look like a sawtooth. It looks like a half pipe where it goes wah. You know what I mean? And that has a shape. That feeling.
To it.
Yeah, feeling. It's got a feeling.
Yeah.
The shape has a feeling, and just like and even does it not have a feeling? It's just got it's another type of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Anger as opposed to sadness, as opposed to jealousy. Like those are different feelings, and they're not one is bad or one is good. It's just they're different. What does this need? It's a happy thing, or is it a sad? Is it a swing? Is it a straight eighth? Is it a, you know what I mean? What is the feeling that you're trying to? And so for me, it's about manipulating the space between the two beats.
Oh, hey. So that was part 2 of my interview with Charles Ruggiero. We're going to dive deeper, even deeper, into some more material with Charles, and we're going to talk about his book, some of the people that he's played with, and then at the very end of this video, Charles is going to go ahead and jam out a great drum solo. So stick around, everyone. Part 3 is coming up.